Little college football talk, no doubt. And with Nick Saban. And Nick Saban has had some things to say, obviously, since he has left the game. And now there are some reports that there's a chance he may be wanting to come back and jump back into that space. You have some reports. You got Greg McElroy, former player for him, former quarterback there at Alabama. He went on and said, I'm just going to read it from him. He said, a very much in the know person that I have a lot of respect for and have spent a lot of time around and just really, really admire. They seem to think Nick Saban is not done coaching. He's pretty adamant that he thinks Saban will be coaching again. And you had some more. Lane Kiffin said on SEC Media Day that he believes, I don't think he's done. I think he'll be back, whether that's college or NFL. I think he'll be back. And then some other folks that they think he's going to pop back up at some point. So a couple things to know here from me. Nick Saban walked away right as NIL takes off. Right as NIL is a new way of things, the way college football is going to be. He didn't like it. He's had a conversation in this report that he and his wife had conversations. She said, well, what about the game we used to love? We're teaching kids, and it was all about them growing as young men and becoming better people and developing. They don't care about that anymore. They just care about transferring. They just care about money. That's all they seem to think about. And two things can be true. Number one, Martin, for me, absolutely Nick Saban would want to come back if it's true, and we'll see if it actually happens. But once he's already been on a campaign for NIL to have salary caps and how he doesn't like it and how he wants things to change and how it just bah humbug, it wasn't for me. Mind you, Nick Saban was also the guy who did this. For those who watch it on YouTube eventually later, I just put a cup of water in there. Imagine that was a Coke bottle.
Okay.
Because he's got Coke deals.
Oh, every
press
post-game.
conference, every post-game. Bam, let me make sure you get this Coke here because I got a Coke deal. And I got my dealerships, and I make great money. I'm the highest paid person in the state of Alabama. And that comes from, of course, football. So the idea that all of a sudden guys can get paid, that guys are looking out for themselves, that guys say, hey, man, I don't know if I'm going to be great in the NFL. I don't even know if I'm making the NFL. What I do know is I got a 2-3 year window here to make some money for myself. I'm going to take full advantage of that. Of course, he doesn't like that. Doesn't make sense to me. That's hypocritical in the sense that you can make so much money off their backs. Two things can be true. Do I believe that he actually he was coaching? Because he was coaching for decades. For the actual growth of these young men? Yes. Do I believe that he cared about the development on them on the field and off the field? Yes. Do I think he probably has amazing relationships with so many of them post-career and going to weddings and knowing their kids and all that good stuff? Absolutely. But you also made a bunch of money off of that, and these guys are looking at it as an opportunity to do so. So to me, he had an advantage. Once he started winning, everybody wants to come to Alabama. And you couple that with, again, it's wash, rinse, repeat. Send a bunch of guys to the league. That does well for me because, wow, they always in the NFL. And it becomes easier and easier to recruit. So you're constantly in a position where you can win a national championship. So you're in this machine. And once things change where now other teams, and it's only a handful of teams that can really, really compete if you want to keep it real, but now they have a chance to have some NIL money, get some other guys, and maybe take a guy away from you that you wouldn't have normally got or you would have normally got, take away a recruit that's normally a Nick Saban recruit, compete. And guys are going to complain, and guys are going to come in your locker. They're going to come in your office and say, hey, why am I not making this? And this guy's making that. And that's a new evolution of coaching. Yeah. He had no time for that. So it only makes sense to me that after he's been complaining about it, that he's been poo-pooing about it, that he's trying to get his salary cap on NIL, that he would then want to come back if things were to change, right? Because now it's back to the field I know.
Well,
now it's back to where I can dominate. Now it's back to familiar territory, not this wild, wild west thing. Last point for real quick here. And to me, I also go back to this is the problem. What he doesn't like about it, and maybe even Deion Sanders, which, again, a little bit hypocritical, is that this is what the NCAA created, Martin. Having a vice grip, having 100%, and you get 0, that now the floodgates open. And, yes, now kids are overreacting. Now kids are worried about money. Now kids are stunned. Now you got high school recruits that are only caring about money and, because they can get money too. And, yes, you have kids that are wanting to transfer and transfer here and transfer there. It's because you guys had such a vice grip on things for so long that when you opened it up, the floodgates happened, and now things have to level off. And now they're trying to figure it out.
So I think that's the problem. Now they're trying to figure it out. There is no figured it out. It is the Wild West. There are just people putting up fences in what used to be unclaimed quote-unquote unclaimed territory, but you know what? There's people there before, right? So it's like it's the Wild West. There's no laws, and then when there are no laws, the man with the most money or the most power generally wins. And the reality of the situation is, you look at the last two national champions, Michigan and Ohio State, or Ohio State and Michigan, rather, in that order, much bigger endowments, just way more money than a school like Alabama. The founder of Google went to Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Just in general, like Michigan paid $10 million for a quarterback this year.
Yep.
Texas, another school
huge endowment
that has a boat ton of money, right? Enough money to keep Arch Manning there for 2 years, right, as a backup and develop. I think Nick Saban's point in Alabama is he wouldn't be able to do that anymore because it's not because like the players, the money's so great that the players would then have to take that. You know what I mean? It could be a kid. Like Kirby Smart was talking about this at SEC Media Day, and he was saying how when they're recruiting defensive backs, for example, there's 4 of them on the field. There are thousands good enough to play at Georgia. But at this point, he's recruiting a guy who he thinks is going to be okay with being developed and staying, because if it's all about the money, then there's not going to be anything payoff when he gets the reps. Now, I think there should be some level of contracts. Like, honestly, I don't think it's a good deal for anybody just to be able to put in what essentially announced to be a 2-week notice when you're at a position and a level like this. You're trying to build something like that. So there should be some level of contract. Honestly, my conspiracy theory says, you know, as I put the tinfoil hat on, I think this is all posturing for television. Saban's
elaborate.
Saban
You're
is
saying
not
for him to keep getting paid for this. Is that what you're saying?
So for TV. So I think that now I am not watching every single second of every single Nick Saban appearance, but I know this. When I do see him on TV, he generally says something I was like, damn, either I didn't think of that or he informed me of something that I wasn't aware of.
He's really good at it.
And
he's really good.
You can see on his face sometimes on some of these, especially because I'm consuming the clips, right? Mostly the clips. You can see on his face sometimes when some of the more boisterous members next to him are cutting, or you know what I'm saying, kind of like, well, can we talk about ball? When I watch the NFL draft, I watch Nick Saban have a masterclass of what this guy's good at, what this guy's bad at, but just evaluating players, boom, boom, boom. I was like, I would watch him do this by himself. And I think that he's getting a lot of feedback that way. That's a crowded desk for a lot of those different events. I'd rather see Saban doing some more solo thing, or not solo, but quieter things where he's the star as opposed to just a guy. And I think that's kind of what this is. Because I don't think that Nick Saban would go back and coach. I don't.
I mean, by the way, keep in mind, he looks great, but, I mean, I'm going to pull it up. What is he, 70?
73, I think.
Yeah, he's older than you think because he looks great. Takes care of himself. He looks great, but.
Went out about as on top as you can.
Yep.
In a Rose Bowl, like you played in a New Year's Day Bowl, you made the Final Four the first year of the playoff. Your last year, you made the playoff. You had a legit shot to win a championship, took Michigan to overtime, and then Michigan made quick work in the national championship game. So you could have argued, had we gotten in that thing, we could have too.
I was there. It was here. And I happened to go to that game. It was good to see. But
Top 5 days of my life.
Yeah, that was lit. But yeah, Nick Saban, to me, again, if he were to come back, it completely makes sense while he's been trying to. And again, I think he may truly believe this in his heart. I don't want to act like this isn't his true feelings, but bringing NIL down, trying to rein it in, trying to put restrictions on it, trying to put it on the box, trying to have maybe more of a governing body over it, and have more guidelines so that if he were to make a return, maybe he has unfinished business. Maybe it's something he wants to do. Maybe he's just setting it up for one of his young guys, one of his, his coaches is on his tree, if you will, to have some success. Bring it down a little bit so if he were to go back to Alabama or some other school, he can have more success and not have to compete with the Michigans, Ohio States on the level in which they are now because you mentioned it. They're able to pay whomever, whatever. And again, this is where we are now because the NCAA had the vice grip, didn't want to loosen up. I've been saying this for years, Martin, with their whole, I called it the identity theft. Because I can make money off the back of you, your look, your name, your image, your likeness, all this stuff, and not have to pay you anything for so long. And I always said, all they had to do 20, 25 years ago, start letting kids get a little stipend.
Right.
Here's a little bit more. Here's $50,000. That's it, just $50,000. You know how huge that was? You were in college. You know how huge that would be?
$50,000?
$50,000 per semester or per year for a kid for a lot. Dude, I got 50. I don't have to hide it. It's out there. Everybody knows it's okay. Maybe you get another 15 each year. So by the time I'm junior, senior, I'm looking at, I don't know, $100,000.
Right.
Like, that's huge. But by them trying no, and keeping it all for themselves, this is what they get. This crazy, everybody doing this on that. And what I don't like about the transfer portal, and you mentioned something, one thing I will agree with, and you know this because it's applicable, take college football, replace with anything in life. You trying to continue to grow in this business, me trying to continue to grow, find my way in this business. You have to persevere.
Yep.
You can, hey, come to Fox Sports Radio, Marty. You thought you were going to do more. Maybe you want more, and it's not there. Kelvin, you're going to do this Spectrum News. Oh, I want to do more. What the transfer portal is creating, because all these guys, a lot of them aren't going to go pro. Most of them aren't. Or even if they do, they go for a year or two. I think I'm about to be man. Come to find out you're not, and you're out. Mm-hmm. Now you're 24, 25 with the rest of your life. My only concern with the transfer portal, everybody's just leaving, because you mentioned it. I was promised these reps, or I was promised I was going to start, and I don't like how this is going, or, oh, man, I had 4 bad games. You put the backup quarterback. I'm leaving. And I don't like that it can create an atmosphere where you don't want to fight or persevere.
You know,
where you don't want to compete, where you don't want to be put in a position where you got to show up, you got to man up, you got to put up. And now it's like, oh, I don't like it. I'm uneasy. This doesn't. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to go there. Oh, I'm just going to go there because they're going to offer me an extra $50,000. I'm just going to leave there. Sometimes the best position you use is to stay put, grow through adversity, outplay that person, or learn, and then next year's your year. And that was where you were supposed to be. But you just want to go over there because it's better. Now you're in a worse situation. You're losing. You know what I mean? And, okay, you made an extra $75,000 throughout your career. But now look at you.
And Booker McFarland made this point in a profile of him years ago before he got the Monday Night Football job. But he said he was able to fail in the dark on SEC Network because it had 150,000 viewers as opposed to Monday Night Football, which
that's a great point.
5 million, right? It's a lot easier to make mess-ups in practice than it is in games. But this is all really boiling down. I think I might have coined a term for it just in this moment. This is the Rob G effect.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Because you guys were in the weight loss competition. You guys were fighting hard. Rob Parker was eating ham and mayonnaise, and that's it.
That's all he ate.
Rob G was like, wait a minute. I'm not coming close to winning this thing. Out transfer portal me. Shoot me up.